So, what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. And why is everyone obsessed with iPhone? Now, I do apologize if it looks like I'm talking down to you a little bit. It's because I'm using a small Joby Gorilla Pod, so I'm not able to rise it up as high here. I'm also talking through these earphones that came with the iPhone. So, if I sound not the best in the world, please excuse that for this video. I just got this spontaneous idea out here to talk about why is everyone so obsessed with the iPhone. Okay guys, so I want to preface this video by talking about the iPhone 10 and the iPhone 8 before we get started here. Apple right now is at the peak of history basically with their phones. I mean, they're expected to sell more iPhone 10s than any other iPhone in history, as is every year with every iPhone. They pretty much do the same thing. But this all-screen design I think is going to elevate Apple to new heights. But I want to talk about my story. We're talking about why people are obsessed with iPhone. My story as a kid. You know, growing up as a teenager, as a young buck, you know, I used to see iPhones everywhere. I seen the billboards, the aggressive marketing of Apple, and, you know, I always desired one. I started with an Android phone, and I did desire one. That doesn't mean I, you know, stuck on the Android platform and saying it's better or whatever. But once I actually got one and started using both side by side, I realized, you know, it's not all that it's hyped up to be in my personal experience. So let me talk about the first reason why I think that, you know, people are obsessed with iPhone. Now, I am using a OnePlus for these notes, but just realize if you watch the channel, you know I'm an iPhone and Android user. So number one is familiarity. So basically, you know, familiar. People have the iPhone, you see everyone with it, people start to want it, people start to desire it. They think it's the in, it's influential. You know, everybody using it, let me use it. And I think this goes away against your true self and your true desires because you're just being influenced by what people see, but that's a story for another day. This is one reason why I think people are obsessed with iPhones, because they see everyone using it and then they want it. A lot of people, I would say 90% of people, are easily influenced. So I personally feel that just because you see a lot of people around using it, that's why one reason people are obsessed with iPhones. I'm not saying you who's watching this video particularly, I'm just speaking on the whole generally here. Number two is Apple's iMessage and Apple's walled garden ecosystem. So if you've used an iPhone, you know what iMessage is. You're like, damn, how do I get out of this thing? Once you get in it, it's really hard to get out because everyone uses iMessage. You don't need cellular data. You only need Wi-Fi connection to use it. You can use it against your iPad, your iMac, your iPhone. And I think once people get into this ecosystem, that's when they really start to buy into the Apple platform. And the more Apple products that you do get, the more it seems like you can't really get out because everything just works so well together. So if you're not trying to be, you know, engrossed within Apple's platform, I would recommend you buy cloud service things. So like, applications that can be used on any PC, any Mac, any iPhone, cross-platform stuff. So keep in mind that if you're not trying to just stay stuck on one technology. Number three, I touched on a little bit in this video, is going to be Apple's marketing. So Apple's marketing is brilliant. I mean, if you look at the way they make videos to hype up a product, if you look at the build-up they create, you'll see why people are kind of obsessed with iPhones. They evoke emotion. They have incredible video editing techniques. I mean, if you look at any iPhone commercial, they evoke emotion. They make you want it. They inspire a feeling within you, meaning like, oh, this thing is going to change my life in some way. And I'm not going to sit up here and sound hypocritical. You see, Apple videos on the channel. Apple has changed my life in the way that I'm efficient with my technology. I'm not going to sit up here and be dishonest with you. They have. But are they the only product that actually improves efficiency? Absolutely not from my perspective. Also, I think Apple creates a false sense of scarcity. So every year they create this, this is economics we're talking about a little bit here. They create this sense that there's not enough to go around, and then people think this thing is so good because it just doesn't, there's just not enough of it. This goes back to basic survival. People, way back in the day hunting for food and stuff like that. People, if there's not enough, everyone's going to fight for it. Everybody's going to think it's so valuable. And that's the same thing with the iPhone. When they create it to seem like you can't get your hands on it. That makes it seem like it's so valuable. So I think they create a false sense of scarcity on the iPhone. Sometimes the technology just isn't ready. This AMOLED thing is a real deal here. I don't think that's created a false sense of scarcity. This AMOLED thing is a real deal here, so I don't think that's created false sense of scarcity. But overall, I do think they do that from time to time. A good example of that, I think, would be those AirPods. You can't tell me those things are that hard to produce that you gotta wait 2 weeks to ship those products. I think that's a false sense of scarcity to push the AirPods. Number four is, it's gonna be subjective based on your experience with either platform, but I think simplicity. A lot of people are obsessed with Apple simplicity, and I think they do this quite well. I'm not gonna deny it. In what makes people obsessed with the iPhone is that pretty much anyone can use it. I think this can be true, but not always. This is also a subjective topic. It's a very opinionated topic because people have been using Android, find the iPhone complex. I know someone who says that iPhone, what is that home button? Like, I just can't imagine myself using a home button with a phone. I like my back button, my touch back buttons like Android has, so it just makes sense to me. Not everybody feels this way, but for the majority, Apple tends to look pretty simple, and in their marketing, they make stuff look very simple, so it tends to work for a lot of people. So that's another reason I think people are obsessed with iPhone. This one is a little bit deeper than you probably thought I was willing to go. The fruit. The Apple fruit sign, believe it or not, subconsciously at the level below your awareness. So you're conscious, meaning that you know what you're doing practical tasks. Subconsciously will be below your level of consciousness, below your level of awareness. People associate a fruit with a very deep survival mechanism, which is eating. And most of the time when you eat an apple, you feel good. So at a very deep level, having a fruit on your phone goes back to your roots of, a survival mechanism, a food, an actual food. I know this is very deep and way on the other end of probably what most tech people were expecting to hear, but I think this plays a role in the obsession with the iPhone. It is a brilliant strategy for a brand logo and an actual apple actually taking a bite out of an apple. This is so brilliant if you ask me. So that pretty much wraps it up here. This is like 5 reasons why I think people are obsessed with iPhone. If you want to know what inspired this video topic, I've been seeing articles that the iPhone is the world's most popular product, and I thought I'd talk about it here. I'm neither on the side of Apple or Android as the best product. I do think it's commendable that if you do love Apple, that's cool. If you're an Apple fanboy, if you love Apple, that's cool because that just shows that you really have desire in your life and you know what you like as a person. Same with Android. But I know what I like as a person, and I like to be open-minded. I like to use both platforms, and I like to keep my mind open because if a new technology emerges, I can actually use it because I'm not like, I'm just going to stick with this one company until something comes out. And this goes for both sides of the game. It's not just, a lot of people like to pick on Apple fanboys. It goes for Android people too. I know Android people are like, screw Apple, and I think that's also the same perspective. A good example of this is people who have switched from the iPhone 8 to the S8 this year, which is a lot of people. They are experiencing one of the best phones they've ever experienced, and I've heard it multiple times again. And I think a lot of people who are going to be switching from, Android phones with flat screen to the all-screen iPhone 10, they're going to love that as well. So there's things to be said for both sides. So I want to hear from you. Are you obsessed with the iPhone? Are you an Apple fanboy, an Android fanboy, a tech fanboy? Let's chat about that down below. These were my reasons why people are obsessed with the iPhone. Anyway, I'll catch you on the next video. Nick here helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well, and peace.